Hi, my name is Tati. I am a SoCal based loan officer and creator, and my recent creation is actually a poetry book I self published. This beautiful, lovely baby of mine titled Late Bloomer. I wanted to do my very, very, very best to simplify the trial and error process that I went through with self publishing and put it into 10 steps that you can kind of just follow through when it comes to creating your first book. So, Late Bloomer started as an idea like 6 years ago for me. My aunt had passed away, and I got back into writing. And it was just something that I thought, when it's time, it was something that I wanted to do. I kind of told myself I hadn't lived enough life experiences to write a full book. So I continued writing, not very consistently, and I just kept all my notebooks. I kept like my little journals, I kept them all. And then, June of 2021, a situationship breakup happened. Someone that was a very good friend of the family on my dad's side passed away from a drug overdose. And I was just going through a depression season. Like, it was already happening. I had no control over it. I was doing my best to just be happy and cheerful, but no, I was already pretty sad. So I feel like the situationship breakup and how everything happened just really just set me over the edge. And a little voice in my head said that it was time to make this book. So it's a very spirit-led project. I feel like everything that I do creatively is spirit-led. So that's how the book came to be, where I determined I was going to create this book. And it took me about 9 months from that intentional, I'm going to make a book, to actually releasing the book. So these are like the 10 steps that I would recommend when it comes to self-publishing. First is write the book. Don't don't do anything else if you don't have a rough draft, like 75% done rough draft. You're gonna edit, you're gonna take things out, you're gonna add things through the process, but write the book. Don't waste your time. Most of your energy should be put into creating the actual book versus anything else. You need to trust that everything else is going to work itself out. Everything else. But write the book. Make the thing, make it real. That's the main thing. Write the book first. So there's a lot of people that ask me about self-publishing, and I'm like, okay, so what, have you started writing yet? No. Well, write the book. Just write without feeling like it needs to be anything. Just write with all the errors, write with all the typos, write the ideas out loud. It doesn't have to be finished to start. You get what I mean? You don't have to even have the idea finished to start writing. Right. So I would say get the book to be like 75% finished in a rough draft version before you actually start doing any of the other steps to create this book. Because once you start doing the other things, then you're kind of putting yourself on the hook to making it within a certain timeline. And I'd rather you do the creative process first. So, right? I would say get the book about 75% finished. And the next thing that I suggest that you do is actually start to research the self-publishing companies that are out there, so you can just get a general idea of which one's going to be right for you. There are several, and I use several. So there's Lulu Publishing, there's Ingram Spark, there is Amazon KDP, there's Barnes and Noble actually has a like print on demand type of situation going on. And then there's Apple Books for solely an ebook. So researching is important because it allows for you to just get a general idea of what the requirements are for each company. For example, Amazon KDP has a page minimum. So, if you want to write a very small book, that may not be the service that you're going to go through. Lulu and Ingram Spark actually have the option to distribute the book for you on different websites. So it's all about what you want for your book. And this is kind of not necessarily where you have the vision already ready, but where you start to ask yourself the questions of, how do I want this book to actually be given out to the world? yeah, I ultimately decided initially I wanted the book to be available on my website and also available on Amazon because I know how accessible Amazon is for people. I ultimately decided to take the book off of my website and exclusively sell it through Amazon and also on Apple Books. But again, this just helps give you an idea of how do you really want your book to be given out to the general public. And if you would like a video on like questions I think you should ask yourself when it comes to that, I can do that. Another thing that was really important to me was I wanted print on demand service. I did not want to hand ship books out, other than the author signed copies that I did when I allowed for pre-orders before the book was released. But I really wanted to make sure that somebody took care of everything for me. So now you have a general idea of kind of just how or where you may want to have your book, released and distributed through. Now I think is a good time to go through the editing and the formatting and the proofreading process. You don't have to go through all of this all at one time, but this is when you should start. I actually hated the rough draft of my book. I printed it out. I had a physical copy of it created and printed to me, and I hated it, and it sat in my little library section for a couple months. And then it wasn't until I kind of had a better idea again of how I wanted to roll out this book that I revisited the book, and I was like, okay, now let's start editing. Now let's start making it make sense and start making it tell a story. I edited all the way up until the release. I have since edited the book 2 or 3 times because I was horrible at proofreading my own book. So yeah, editing is where I think you should go back to, because when you have an idea of where you want your book to actually live, it gives you a better idea of what's available, what sizes of pages are available for that company, any minimum page requirements, if there's going to be if you want the cover or any of the images to have full bleed so that they go all the way up to the rim of the page. That was an annoying thing for me. I have just one image that does that right here. So, all of those kind of things, you start to really just get a better idea of how you want the book to be. So this is when I suggest you start editing. You get a better idea of how you want to format, the fonts you want to use, and everything. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you hire someone to proofread your book. Fiverr is a great resource. For book number 2, if I don't actually use a publishing company, I am going to have someone on Fiverr do that. I love formatting myself, but please don't hesitate to hire someone to do that as well. I would recommend after you've gone through a couple of edits of your book and now you feel like you moved along in the creative process to where, okay, this is closest to, not closest, but this is closer to how I actually want my book to be. Now I think you should solidify where you actually want your book to live as far as the self-publishing companies, because you're going to be able to go through the process of putting the title in there. The next step, which is getting your ISBN, you're going to be able to, if you want your book to be exclusively distributed through one of these companies, you can get a free ISBN, which is awesome and saves you money, or you can decide to purchase your own, which is what I decided to do. But yeah, so step 4 would be to solidify which companies you actually want to allow your book to live on. And then also I don't know which step I said. Step 4 is to solidify your self-publishing company. Step 5 is to get your ISBN. Those can be kind of done together. Then I suggest that you get your cover together. So each company will give you some sort of template for how to have your book cover and your back. So it's normally like a document that has both pages together, like so. Like it'll be a page like this that's like a square. And there's going to be a section for your little ISBN barcode. And this is where you will get with an illustrator if you choose to, or some sort of creator that can create the cover for you. I actually I spoke to a couple of people, and I ultimately chose my friend's girlfriend, Zaina, who did a beautiful job with the cover image, a beautiful job with illustrations that I was able to put into the book. But this is when I think you should do that. You have a general idea of how the book is. You've gone through maybe 2 or 3 rough drafts. I think I went through like 5. I got to a final draft and I had like 4 versions of the final draft. So I got to where I was like, okay, this is kind of it. This is telling the story I wanted to tell. Then I got the illustrations, and I was able to create that book cover, and I was able to start putting illustrations within the book so that everything kind of just flowed the way I was starting to envision it to. The end is when you should order an author copy and you should review your book. You're still going to make edits. I made lots of edits. Like I said, I went through like 4 final versions of this book. But this is when you should actually see your book like in real form as a book. Between that time, don't be afraid to just print out the book so you can see the pace. You can really like see it like in real life. But yeah, this is when I suggest that you actually print out an author copy and you take a look at how your book is actually looking. From there, release date and pre-orders. So I wanted to fall into angel numbers and numbers that aligned with me. So I chose a official release date of 4/4/2022. And I did my pre-order day of 3/12 because that is my sister's birthday. So I allowed for pre-orders on March 12th, and divine timing, everything worked out as it should be, because I was so worried that my pre-order books, because I was going to author sign copy them, I allowed for people to order them for a period of time. I had those books shipped to me, I signed them, and I mailed them out myself. And I was like, I want everyone to have their book copy before the book release. I want them to like have the book within a few days of the book being available to the public. And everything worked out as it should. Everyone got their book right around that time. So I'm so grateful. But yeah, so this is when you're going to decide, when do I actually want this book to become a book, and how am I going to roll out this thing, like what days, because then you're putting yourself on the hook to finish. That was a very nerve-wracking process for me. During the time that I picked out my release days, my cousin passed away, and it was like, oh my gosh, should I still do this? I just shared out with everyone that I'm doing this book, and now I've gotta do it, and now I don't know if I can do this mentally. So I ended up writing, and I ended up adding, like I said, I went through several versions of the final draft, and one of those versions was the fact that I ended up writing a bunch of pieces and putting them into this book that were in honor of my cousin and his passing. So release date, pre-order date. Now, when you have that pre-order date and that pre-order date has passed, that is officially your copyright release date, and you're able to file for copyright. So after you have your release date and you have your pre-order date, this is when I think you should start marketing your book, letting people know that your book is going to be a creation. I went with angel number days. So 2/2/2022 is when I shared that I was releasing the book. I didn't have the illustrations yet. On 2/2/2022, I didn't have the illustrations yet. So I was like, I'm going to be releasing this book 2/2/22. Look forward to the book cover. And again, divine timing. My girl sent me over the images. I was able to pick which one I wanted for the book cover. I already had the fonts pretty much together, and then I put it into an image format, and I shared that along with a couple of poems, and I shared the back that I wanted it to be, and I tagged her in there, and I was able to post that on 2/22 the way that I wanted to. Everything rolled out the way that I wanted to, but I would recommend getting all your dates together before you start marketing and sharing out, when your book will be available, all of those things. Have the pre-orders available when you share out, because you want to capture people when they see it instead of in little like sprinkler, like, hey, I'm doing this thing, okay, cool, and then they forget about it 2 weeks from now. You want them to see you post that you're coming out with a book, that pre-orders are available, and you want them to go to the link and you want them to pre-order right away. Yeah, and then after that, when your pre-order date has passed, you are able to file for copyright for your book. So copywriting goes where you have to enter a release date, and you could do so the way that it read is that technically whatever day you start officially taking payments for your book is the release date of your book. So I recommend having a pre-order date because that allows you to copyright the book before the book is officially released. But if you just decide to release the book, then that date is copyright date and you're able to file a copyright claim. So yeah, there's some different things about copywriting. They say technically once you write something and you share it, it is copywritten, but going through the extra process of having it registered makes it a lot easier if someone decided to recreate anything that you've created. So that is why I went through the copyright process. It does cost you money, so just be prepared for that. Let me know questions that you may have about this process. Yeah, so that's kind of like the 10 steps that I would recommend that you take when it comes to self-publishing. So hopefully this video is helpful. I keep trying to make sure I'm in focus. Hey me. But yeah, hopefully this video is helpful for somebody out here, and I really would love to see what you create. So if you create something and you self-publish it, please plug yourself in the comments because I want to purchase. I want to read it. So yeah, thank you. Thanks. This beautiful book that I recommended, Let Bluma, is available on Amazon and also on Apple Books if you would like to read it in an ebook format. It is beautiful. It has my little lovely pages on there. If you would like to see some of the pages, I have been posting them on the YouTube Shorts. Because I've been posting them on Instagram already, and I was like, okay, I have all of these posts, so like just put them out there. So yeah, if you wanted to get little taste of what's in the book, you can go over to the short section and read some of the poems. If you like the poems, then you can go support the book on Amazon. There will be a link somewhere. I'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you. If you watched this video this far, thank you so much. Just chaotic. I'm just chaotic. It's annoying. It's okay. But thank you, and I will see you guys in a future video.